Charlie Kenton is a retired boxer who now engages in robot fights, and he's also facing a lot of problems. He's divorced, broke, an irresponsible father, hasn't won a fight in a long time, and has just bet $20,000 on a rural exhibition match where his robot will fight a bull. The owner of this bull is Ricky, who warns him that if he loses and doesn't pay, the consequences will be extremely serious. The crowd is eager, and finally, the match begins. Charlie controls his robot remotely. At first, the robot takes a strong lead, but it becomes overconfident, and the bull ends up destroying one of the robot's legs. Kenton asks Ricky to stop the fight so he can repair the robot and try to recover some money in another match, but Ricky keeps the show going until the robot is completely smashed to pieces. To avoid paying, Charlie loads the remains into his truck and flees, leaving Ricky without his money. Enraged, Ricky decides to take revenge, a revenge so serious it could end up costing our protagonist his life. This is when another problem arises for Charlie. His ex-wife has just passed away, and Max, his young son, needs a new home. The issue is that Charlie Kenton hasn't seen his son in about 8 years, simply because he never cared. Even so, he attends the custody hearing, late of course. On the other hand, Max has wealthy relatives who want to take custody of him since they have no children and can offer him a very comfortable life. However, as there's no signed will, the law grants custody to the closest living relative, in this case, Charlie. The man plans to leave his son in an orphanage, but upon realizing that the couple in front of him is wealthy and will soon be leaving on a 2-month trip, he comes up with a plan. He offers to take care of Max during those 2 months and give up custody for a total of $100,000, $50,000 now, and $50,000 when the trip is over. The man can't believe Charlie is literally selling his son, but he ends up accepting. They sign the papers, and with the advance payment, Charlie buys a new robot. Afterward, he heads to his gym workshop, where we meet Bailey. Bailey is the owner and chief mechanic of the boxing gym where Charlie used to train. She's an expert in robotics and has a deep passion for robot boxing. And by the way, Charlie owes her money too. The woman asks where he got the money for a new robot, but before he can answer, the doorbell rings, announcing Max's arrival. That's when Charlie replies, "Your money just arrived." This simple phrase tells us a great deal about how Charlie sees Max. With this comment, he reduces the child to nothing more than a means to obtain money. In my view, this is primarily due to 2 reasons. The first is that Charlie finds himself in a difficult financial situation, which can drive people to take desperate measures. In Charlie's case, it causes him to focus solely on his own needs and problems, leading him to see Max as a means to an end. And secondly, perhaps more importantly, it seems that Charlie uses money as a way to avoid dealing with the emotions and pain associated with his fractured relationship with Max. Seeing him only in terms of money allows Charlie to emotionally detach and avoid confronting his feelings of guilt and failure as a father. Moreover, this allows Charlie to become desensitized to the emotional bond and responsibility that come with having a child. This, in turn, enables him to justify his selfish decisions, as we're about to see. Just a quick pause to say that if you're enjoying this video and haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot and really helps me keep making more videos and content like this. Alright, let's get back to the story. The uncle gives Charlie the money and leaves. The moment Max sees his father, we notice his eyes reflect resentment, but the boy is even more shocked when he realizes that Kenton was paid in exchange for custody. Charlie enters the workshop to see the robot he believes will make him a lot of money. Its name is Noisy Boy. Little Max is amazed by what he sees in front of him, as he's a huge fan of robot boxing. In fact, he knows the entire history of Noisy and which fights it's participated in. Noisy traveled the world thanks to its fights, but now it's been retired. It even has the voice command features that allow it to receive spoken instructions. Charlie loads it onto the truck and heads out to fight, but just as he's about to leave, he discovers that Max has stolen the keys and is now threatening to lose them if he isn't taken along. Charlie refuses, since he sees Max only as an additional burden, but seeing how determined the boy is, he finally agrees to take him. The fight takes place at an underground fight club. The place is grim, dangerous, reflecting the deteriorated state in which Charlie currently finds himself. Despite the awful setting, Max is fascinated because robot boxing is something he truly loves. Charlie is offered $5,000 for every round Noisy survives, but his ambition drives him to ask for the main event, with a prize of $50,000. Max tells him it's a terrible idea, but Kenton doesn't care what he thinks. The fight begins. This decision seems foolish to me because Charlie barely knows how to control his robot, on top of the fact that if he loses, he'll be left with nothing. But as I mentioned earlier, Charlie's impulsive decisions and his tendency to take risks reflect his desperation to improve his financial situation. This kind of impulsive and short-sighted decision-making is commonly known as a scarcity mindset. At first, Charlie completely dominates his opponent. Thanks to his boxing experience and the voice commands, he lands blow after blow without pause. So he becomes overconfident and ends up receiving a series of devastating hits. He panics, and since he doesn't really know how to operate the robot, he just stands there watching Noisy get his face smashed in. The fight, once again, ends with his robot and his money in pieces. Max, furious, confronts Kenton. Charlie tries to excuse himself by saying that Noisy was a bad robot, to which the boy replies, "Then throw it away, like you do with everything else you don't need." Here, we clearly see a deep emotional resentment, as Max isn't just referring to the robot, but also to himself. Max's comment reflects the emotional wounds caused by Charlie's neglect and abandonment. He himself feels like a disposable object in his father's life. It's also worth noting that Max never refers to Charlie as Dad. He always calls him by his first name. This detail is significant because the language we use to refer to people in our lives is a key indicator of our relationships and the roles we play within them. The word dad carries significant emotional and relational weight, something Max is not willing to grant, because he doesn't see Charlie as a father figure worthy of that title. From this, we can observe that being called dad is something that must be earned. Through the daily use of language, this becomes clear. In a somewhat unconscious way, Max sets a boundary through language. Likewise, the evolution of the language Max uses to refer to Charlie can serve as an indicator of the development of their relationship. If at some point he begins to call him dad, it would represent a profound shift in how he perceives and accepts Charlie as a paternal figure. To avoid going completely bankrupt, Charlie breaks into a junkyard illegally, intending to steal some parts so he can build another robot to compete with. It's a rainy night, and the terrain is dangerous, setting the perfect stage for an accident. While they're talking, Max missteps, and the ground collapses beneath him, causing him to fall down a cliff. However, a robotic arm sticking out manages to save him from falling into the abyss. Charlie quickly climbs down to rescue him, and carefully, the two of them make it back to safety. At that moment, the boy realizes that the arm that saved his life is actually part of an entire robot, so he asks Charlie to help him take it. The man, already fed up, walks away without offering any help. Max feels indebted to this little hunk of metal, so without his father's help, he spends the entire night digging it out until he finally manages to carry it to the truck and gets a little payback on Kenton. Back at the gym, when Bailey sees Noisy Boy destroyed, she explodes at Charlie and tells him it's over. As a final favor, Charlie asks her to take a look at the boy's robot. Kenton says it's junk, but maybe they can use it for training others and earn a bit of money. Max hates the idea. Since the robot actually belongs to him, Bailey manages to power it on and the giant wakes up. She explains that it's a sparring robot and includes a shadow function that mimics the movements of its trainer and stores them, an upgrade that very few robots have. It was used as a punching bag to train bigger robots, which means it's made of a material that can withstand a huge number of hits. Max cleans off the robot and discovers its real name is Adam. Thrilled to finally have a robot of his own, he asks for a match, but Charlie crushes his hopes by telling him that these types of robots aren't made to land punches. Still, the boy holds on tightly to the idea of fighting, despite his father constantly trying to discourage him. Later on, Charlie asks a good friend for a loan to buy another robot, but the friend turns him down. "Charlie, I know you, and I really like you, but you're a bad bet." He tells Charlie that there's going to be a robot fight tomorrow at a zoo. Maybe that old sparring robot could get lucky there. As they leave, Max once again insists that he wants to fight, and Charlie, exhausted, agrees to take him to the zoo, although not without reminding him once more that his robot will end up in pieces. Finally, the day of the first fight arrives. Charlie doesn't really care much, but we see that Max has been teaching Adam some moves since early in the morning, especially a double uppercut. Before they arrive at the fight, Charlie tells his son, "You know he's going to end up in pieces, right?" To which the boy replies, "We'll see." The arena is a run-down abandoned zoo, where they meet their first opponent, Kingpin. The young boy says he'll fight for 2 rounds for $50. His opponent laughs, convinced Adam won't survive even one, but Max stands firm. Kingpin offers him a deal. If Adam survives a single round, he'll pay $1,000, but if not, he keeps all the robot's parts. His father tells him not to do it, but believing in himself, little Max accepts the bet. Kingpin's robot is huge, and Charlie doesn't think the kid stands a chance, so he offers to control Adam himself, but the boy refuses because it's his robot. Kingpin is also ready, so he gives the signal. The bell rings and the fight begins, but it starts terribly. The boy knows how to operate the robot, but doesn't know how to box, so little Adam keeps taking hit after hit. That's when his father, who has a great deal of boxing experience, starts helping by telling him what to do. Thanks to his background, Charlie can predict the opponent's movements. Even though Kingpin lands a lot of punches, Adam holds up incredibly well, which surprises Charlie, but he's even more shocked when he realizes there are only 30 seconds left to survive. Kingpin lands a devastating punch that knocks Adam to the ground, and although it seems all is lost, the little robot gets back up. At that moment, the bell rings. Charlie bursts with joy. They've just won $1,000. But before they can leave, Kingpin approaches and offers them a double all or nothing deal, which Max accepts. This infuriates Charlie because he doesn't believe Adam can take any more and thinks they have no chance of winning. Throughout the story so far, we've seen Charlie constantly discouraging Max. He tells him his robot is useless. Then he says he won't get him a fight. When Max is about to fight, Charlie insists his robot will be destroyed. And now, even after Adam survived one round, he tells him he's going to lose. He's not doing this because he's a bad person, but for a much sadder reason. At the start of this story, we learn two things. Charlie is in the robot boxing business, and he's broke, meaning that this man has not had any success in his field. The many experiences of failure and disappointment in his life have shaped Charlie's perception of the world and of himself. He has seen his efforts repeatedly end in defeat, which has led him to adopt a pessimistic view, and now he sees himself as a loser. What Charlie is doing now, and what many parents do, is protecting his own worldview and fears onto his own child. You see, at the root of all negative psychological projection lie feelings of pain, anxiety, and shame. Specifically, when this projection is directed at one's children, it is known as parental projection. This type of projection can be especially harmful, as it may cause children to adopt beliefs and behaviors in an effort to live up to a projected identity. The most typical example would be that of a mother who grew up feeling she could never achieve her goals. This mother might tell her daughter that life is unfair and will always end in disappointment. It becomes clear that it is the mother, not the child, who feels like a failure. Unable to cope with their own feelings, the mother unconsciously passes them on to her daughter. After hearing this type of negative projection for years, the daughter may begin to act accordingly. This submission to a projected identity is especially tragic because it robs the child of her own identity and individual future potential. There are also cases where children manage to reject these negative projections, but often this results in conflict with their parents. In many instances, the resentment damages the relationship, and the children may grow up with a strong desire to leave home and cut ties with their parents. And be careful, sometimes these projections, especially those rooted in fear, can come from a well-meaning, caring place, where a parent doesn't want their child to experience the same pain they once did. But it is essential to strike a balance between protecting them and allowing them to face their own fears. Returning to the story, Charlie begs Max to stop because he truly needs the money, but Max calms him and accepts the second round. The second round begins, but this time Max follows Charlie's advice and uses the double upper that he taught Adam to deliver a lethal blow to the opponent, who collapses to the ground. The countdown begins. Our duo gets excited. Kingpin is desperate, and when the count hits 10, the bell rings, granting Adam the victory. Kingpin has no choice but to pay them. Before they leave the arena, a promoter approaches and offers them another fight for a very good payout. Thanks to this victory, Max becomes motivated and begins implementing improvements to Adam, among them removing the need for a remote control. Now Adam can function with voice commands. While doing some programming, Max discovers how fun it is to dance alongside Adam, something Charlie watches from afar. The boy tells him about all the upgrades he made and asks him to please teach the robot how to box so that Adam can remember the movements and use them in battle. Kenton refuses, though he still suggests doing that dance before he fights. Despite the man's initial refusal, the boy offers him a deal. He'll dance before each fight if Charlie teaches Adam how to box. The next day, Kenton gets up early to teach Adam some real boxing moves. Not robot fighting, but more human-style techniques. And although he's a bit out of shape, he knows a great deal about the sport. Charlie Kenton used to be a professional boxer who fought in human matches before robot boxing became popular and replaced humans in the ring. Once the sport stopped paying, Charlie moved on to what he knew and what brought in a little more money: robot fights. It's important to note that Charlie never won a boxing title during his career, which contributed to the self-image of a loser that he now projects onto his son. Adam is a small robot, so knowing that his opponents will be much larger, Charlie teaches him how to punch upwards, and so Charlie, Max, and Adam begin fighting in different places all over the country. Max dances with Adam before each fight, and Charlie, with all his knowledge, controls the robot, helping them win not just one fight or two, but every single match they enter. This also brings in a lot of money, finally giving them the breathing room they need. As time goes on and they compete more, father and son grow closer, each putting effort into making their shared project, Adam, better every day. It seems that Adam didn't just save Max's life, but is also rescuing the relationship between Max and Charlie. Adam's small size, combined with his growing number of victories and Max's pre-fight dances, draws the world's attention to this team. They're featured on the news and the radio, something that brings great excitement to both Charlie and his son. Adam is becoming incredibly popular because he is, by definition, an underdog. This term refers to a competitor, team, or individual perceived as unlikely to win due to significant disadvantages compared to their opponents. Adam fits this description perfectly. He's not technologically advanced, he doesn't hit hard, He's small, and he was literally pulled from a junkyard, meaning someone else had already deemed him worthless. However, Adam has something else no one in the world possesses: tremendous endurance. In a way, he seems to blend Max's defenseless qualities with Charlie's resilience, who, despite having failed many times, keeps taking the hits and pushing forward. Adam is so easy to love because many of us can identify with him, but you'll soon see why. Things get even better when, after winning another fight, a promoter approaches them to offer another match. But this time, it's in the World Robot Boxing League, the highest level of competition that exists in this universe. The father and son's dream has come true. They will finally have a professional match. However, Charlie's past is about to catch up with him in serious ways. Before continuing, we need a bit of context. In the future world of this story, the WRB is the top-tier league for robot boxing. This league is dominated by a robot named Zeus. He's massive, powerful, and equipped with extremely advanced technology. And by the way, he's never lost a fight. The mastermind behind this robot is a man named Tak Mashido. His right hand is a woman named Lemkova. She manages Zeus's career and ensures that he remains constantly in the spotlight. Both are extremely arrogant, manipulative, and convinced they will never be defeated. The big day arrives, but while Adam is getting his final adjustments, Zeus's team invites them to their suite to offer a deal. They want to buy Adam for $200,000, thinking he could be useful for training their champion. They also remind them that they're about to face Twin Cities, a robot that will tear Adam to pieces. Without hesitation, Charlie Kenton accepts, but his son stops him and declares that Adam is not for sale. The boy refuses and leaves the room, deeply offended. Charlie follows, trying to convince him to sell, but Max makes him see that the reason they want Adam is because he's different from the rest. He's a real boxer. Charlie can't believe they're walking away from such a huge sum, but he knows they're in this together. On one side, we have Twin Cities, a two-headed robot controlled by two people. On the other side, we have Adam, small, somewhat rough, and entering his first professional match, but with a lot of heart. Max makes his entrance, and the crowd goes wild. The fight finally begins. Adam lands the first punch, but it turns out to be the only one for a while. Twin Cities quickly corners him and starts pounding away. The situation becomes critical, and for a moment it seems everything's lost. Charlie keeps his cool and uses his boxing knowledge to find a weakness. Adam escapes the corner and launches a counterattack, turning the tide of the fight. Charlie gives the command, pivot left, pivot right, and finishes with the order for an uppercut that knocks down the opponent. The countdown begins, and after reaching 10, little Adam wins the fight. Neither Charlie nor Max can believe it. Before the referee can announce the winner, Max grabs the microphone and, in front of a packed stadium, directly challenges Zeus and his team to a championship match, sending the crowd into a frenzy. But here, our story takes an unexpected turn. Before the boys can go celebrate, Ricky shows up with 3 thugs to collect the money from the carnival bet. He's furious, and despite the child being present, the gang violently attacks Charlie. Max begs them to stop, but they don't relent until Charlie's left nearly dead. As a result, Charlie decides to make an act of love. He puts Max's well-being first and sends him back to live with his aunt and uncle. Max pleads with him not to do it, but it's already too late. Charlie also explains that, legally, they get to decide, not him, so there's nothing he can do. Charlie's overwhelmed by a mix of helplessness and frustration. Before his son leaves, he says, "You knew what this was from day one, and you still chose to be part of it. Besides, it was ridiculous to think that you, me, and a scrap metal robot would ever get a happy ending. But more than anything, I'm doing this because you deserve better than me." Charlie appears angry, and it even seems like he's blaming Max for making him feel sad. But in reality, it's a defense mechanism to avoid owning up to his responsibility in the situation. His claim that a happy ending was impossible also reflects his fatalistic beliefs about himself, shaped by the past we've already explored. It seems like he'd started to let go of those beliefs, but this painful moment brings them back to the surface. In fact, these words don't seem directed so much at his son as they are at himself. It's as if, once again, he's projecting, just like we saw at the beginning. And finally, by stating that his son deserves something, he's implicitly saying that he himself is not worthy of his son's love, revealing his low self-esteem and negative self-image. Since Max doesn't say a word, Charlie asks him what he wants from him, to which the boy replies, "I want you to fight for me. That's all I've ever wanted." After that, he gets in the car and leaves. This declaration shows that Max has developed a meaningful emotional bond with Charlie and wants to be acknowledged by him. He wants Charlie to fight for him, not just in the ring, but in life as a whole. Sad and unsure of what to do, Charlie returns to Bailey to let off some steam. He admits that panic overtook him, and now he doesn't even know where to start. Bailey replies that he does know, and then they share their first kiss. With all the new information we now have, we could suggest that Charlie's emotional distance from his son, Max, did not truly come from a bad place, but rather from the negative self-image he's built over the years. This self-image is rooted in the negative beliefs he's adopted through his life, that he can't do anything right, and perhaps, in the end, he decided to distance himself from his son because he believed he would fail as a father. Though, paradoxically, that's exactly what happened. Now Charlie knows what he must do. After having done so many things wrong throughout his life, he decides to do something right. That's why he drives to Max's guardian's house, where the boy opens the door. The man opens up to him, apologizes, and tells him he knows he abandoned him, and that nothing will ever bring back the years he was absent. But now he's ready to fight for him. He then reveals that they've been granted the fight against Zeus, and asks Max's guardian for permission to have him for just one night. The woman agrees, and Max couldn't be happier. And so the two set out together for the final battle. But before we see how it all ends, we might ask, what caused this shift in Charlie's attitude? What made him let go of his pessimistic outlook? While it's difficult to know exactly, I believe it's mainly due to 3 reasons. First, Charlie sees Bailey as a romantic interest, but also sees her as a coach, and by extension, as her father's daughter. That figure represents authority, and in a way, even a paternal presence, so the weight of her words carries a lot of influence for Charlie. Secondly, it's the affection he's developed for his son. He now has a motivation he didn't have before, the love and responsibility he feels for Max. This is incredibly powerful as it helps overcome fear and doubt. And third, ever since meeting Max, Charlie has repeatedly proven to himself that he's not a loser. Proof of this lies in the incredible journey he's built with Adam, and even the fact that he now has a relationship with his son. These are all small victories that, deep down, are telling him he can do things well. Night falls, and with it, the long-awaited fight begins. As they enter the arena, Max asks Charlie, "We're not going to win, are we?" To which his father responds, "We'll see." The Charlie from just a few months ago would never have made such an optimistic comment. But now that he's shown himself that things can turn out well, he has faith. He knows it's unlikely, but not impossible. In one corner, we have Zeus, massive, imposing, and entering the ring with a spectacle that makes him look like a demon straight from hell. In the other corner are Adam, Charlie, and Max, ready to give it everything they've got. This is the final obstacle our underdog must face, one that seems crushing and impossible. You, me, and most of the spectators in the arena are rooting for Adam because all of us can identify with a character like this. Most of us have been in that position at some point. But more importantly, I believe we all want him to win, because it would mean that hope exists for every one of us. Watching an underdog win suggests deep down that anyone, regardless of their circumstances, can achieve great things with enough effort and determination, even against the odds. The bell rings, the fight begins, and Adam is knocked down by Zeus's very first punch. Charlie shouts through the voice command for him to get up, and almost miraculously, Adam manages to rise to his feet, stunning the entire stadium. But things only get worse. In that first round alone, Zeus knocks Adam down many times. Still, Adam gets up every single time. The little robot withstands blow after blow until, in a brief opportunity, he lands a punch on Zeus, shocking everyone. The hits continue, though Zeus once again gains the upper hand, and just when he's about to finish Adam off, the bell rings. Our team has survived the first round. Both sides return to their corners, make some quick repairs, and round 2 begins. Charlie keeps giving commands, Zeus keeps delivering punishing hits, and Adam keeps enduring. They go from the 2nd to 3rd round to the 4th. What makes this even more incredible is that no one expected them to get past the first round. Nevertheless, it's in this penultimate round that the fight seems to be coming to an end. Zeus unleashes all his power against the little robot, who loses the ability to hear Charlie. His voice control system's been damaged. Fortunately, the bell rings. Charlie believes everything is lost, as there's now no way to control Adam. But Max reminds him that even if he can't hear, Adam can still see him and mimic his movements. He suggests putting him into shadow mode, and Charlie will box to control him. However, the man is terrified and says, "I can't do it." His son insists you have to fight the last round. Charlie begs him not to ask for that, but after looking into Adam's eyes and seeing the way his son looks at him, he takes off his jacket and decides he'll do it. The boxer inside him returns, and he uses all his knowledge to stand up to the steel giant who seems unstoppable. Zeus is relentless, but that's exactly why his energy starts to run out, and after waiting for just the right moment, the counterattack begins. Charlie throws punch after punch without pause. They're so well placed that they break Zeus's internal systems, leaving him vulnerable. Takamashido erupts in rage and takes direct control of the robot, but Charlie's boxing can handle that. As if the world has stopped, Max watches Kenton, not just fighting, but doing what he loves. The young boy feels a profound pride, realizing that the man standing before him is no longer a stranger or someone to resent, but someone he can finally call Dad. After one final flurry of punches, Zeus finally hits the ground. The crowd explodes. Charlie looks at his son, who beams with joy, as if his eyes were saying, "We did it." Zeus manages to stand up again, but Kenton continues the assault. And just when he's about to knock him out, the bell rings. The ring fills with spectators who can't contain their excitement. But now, everything depends on the judges. The referee announces the winner by decision, Zeus, who remains undefeated. However, Max and Charlie don't seem to care anymore. The crowd boos, because for them, Zeus may have won the scorecard, but he lost the fight. The microphone's handed to Max, and it's revealed that the people now see Atom as the people's champion, which Max thinks is absolutely fantastic. Amid the cameras, cheers, and flashing lights, the boy, for the first time in the entire story, shouts to Charlie, "Dad." Through tears and laughter, the two embrace. If you're someone who, like Charlie, has a pessimistic view of yourself and your actions, allow me to offer you a tool to help overcome that mindset. The first step is to recognize that you have these patterns of negative thinking. Once you've identified them, you begin to question their validity. Are they really true? Is there actual evidence to support them? And even if there is some evidence, is there at least one piece that contradicts them? Finally, you may need to start rebuilding your confidence through small goals, also known as baby steps. Achieving these small victories can help rebuild self-confidence and self-esteem. It doesn't have to be something huge. Small battles are more than enough. In Charlie's case, these small steps unfolded throughout the story. Examples include surviving a round thanks to his guidance, winning his first fight, teaching Atom how to box, winning an official match, or going to apologize to his son. And though Charlie never completely stopped doubting himself, as we saw when he was terrified during the final match, his self-esteem by then had become far more balanced. And that was all thanks to those small steps. And of course, seeking professional support through therapy is always advisable in cases like these. After everything we've seen, we know that Charlie ultimately lost the fight, but it doesn't affect him in the slightest, because by that point, he had come to understand something essential, that whether we succeed or not, we don't need to do it perfectly, and we don't need to be perfect to be worthy. Thanks for staying until the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend who you think might enjoy it. And you and I'll see you in the next one.